Gaining priority through a defensive action is kind of difficult. It's not as straightforward as making an attack. So when you are moving, typically in a defensive action, you are retreating, so you don't actually have priority. The only way you can take priority is by way of parry. So you have to make sure you make the parry. Once you make the parry, priority changes hands, you're in charge, and then you can make the riposte. Now, your riposte does not have to come immediately after the parry. It can be delayed, but it's very important that you don't do any other actions between that parry and the riposte. So you make the parry, and then the next action should be the riposte. This is the easiest way of gaining priority through a defensive action. Losing priority through defensive action is a problematic issue. So let's have a quick look at how this happens. If you are the fencer who's attacking me and I'm retreating, you have priority. If I make the parry, I take priority away from you. However, if I continue to retreat after that parry, I've given up my priority, my right of way. So I have no way of making my own attack against you. So if you attack me and I parry and then continue to retreat, I've given up my right of way. Conversely, if you are attacking me and I parry, and then instead of making a riposte as my next action, I do another search, this is going to mean I've lost priority because I'm still looking for your blade. If I find it the first time, that's all I need to do. Then I make the riposte. But if I find it that first time, but then I keep searching for it, each time I look for your blade and I don't find it, I'm going to lose priority. I won't have right of way. So these are our two fundamental ways of losing right of way in a defensive action. That is continuing to retreat or doing a second action after our first parry and not finding our opponent's blade. There's more than one way to make an effective parry in foil. Now the method we looked at in our lesson is a slow mechanical approach to the parry. The reason why we do that is to help you develop the muscle memory to know how to manipulate the blade and catch your opponent's attack. The downside to this is it actually makes the parry rather slow, and by extension, same with the riposte. Now, if you want to make a fast, crisp parry, and by extension, a very quick riposte, the action cannot start from the elbow, but rather the wrist or the fingers. This allows you to manipulate the blade so that the parry is small, but quick, and by extension, allowing you to make the riposte just as quick. Now, the reason why we make them small when we get comfortable with the parry is because you only have to come in contact with your opponent's attack in the right position of your blade. This is the transference of your priority. So if I were to use my finger, this is an effective parry. If I'm catching it with the fort, so I make the parry and I come out with the riposte. Parry and the riposte. But if I'm parrying from my elbow, it's going to be slower. There's the parry and there's the riposte. There's the parry and the riposte. So if you use your fingers or your wrist, it's a lot faster. So again, there is more than one way to make an effective parry. Searching in foil refers to the act of looking for your opponent's blade. It's an extension of our parry. Now, there are two ways of defending yourself with your foil. The first one is a passive search. That is, you are waiting for your opponent to make the attack. When they finally attack, you make your parry and follow with a riposte. The second option is an active defense, active parrying, which means you are searching for your opponent even before they make the attack. Now, this is very important because perhaps you don't know which line your opponent is going to attack you in. So if you're actively looking for their blade, you are keeping them at distance while you're stepping away, while you're looking for their blade. The moment you find it, you make your riposte. So searching is invaluable, especially when you're applying it as an active defense. You don't really use it to its fullest extent when you're being passive about it. So you want to be active. The drawback, though, is that you can risk losing right of way if you search and don't find your opponent's blade. If you do find their blade, but you continue to search, then you're going to definitely lose your right of way. So searching actively is very important to strengthen your defense. It gives you many opportunities to find the attack and make your riposte. So you have your passive search and you have your active search. But really, all it refers to is looking for your opponent's blade by using your own. Movement plays a huge role when it comes to your defensive game in foil. Now we're going to be looking at 3 ways it plays a big role in your defensive game. First one is going to be distance control, and this is played out in a role that, say, I have an opponent who is fencing me and they're trying to attack. If I plant myself in position, they're able to attack me. I'm not giving myself much of a window to parry. And here's the example why. If I'm standing in a fixed position and you attack, my time to parry is very small. It's a small window. But if I take a step back, I'm opening up that window. It's becoming bigger, so I now have more time to make that parry. So controlling that distance is very important. If you attack and I step away, that's my first line of defense. If you attack again, I step away and I can make that parry, I'm adding another level to my defensive game. So controlling the distance is very important. We're not static. If your opponent marches towards you, you are going to step back. You don't have priority, you lack right of way. The only way to take it is by parrying, and you want to give yourself more opportunity to parry, so you're going to step back. Now our second one is time. Now time is very important in fencing. Each time your opponent is attacking you, if you step back, you are essentially giving yourself more time to think about what you want to do. This is very important. If you plant yourself, same thing in the lack of control of distance, if you plant yourself in one place and your opponent attacks you, you have no time to think about what you want to do. But if you continue to retreat, you give yourself a lot more time to decide what action is the best action to go with. So time control is very important. Now our third one is exploiting your opponent's mistakes. If you are static, if you're just staying in one place and you're not doing anything with your feet, you have no opportunity to really take advantage of your opponent's mistake. So when you are moving, each time you step away, your opponent has to march forward in order to keep their right of way. Each time they do that, you're giving them another chance to make a mistake that you can exploit. And these exploitive methods usually take the form of a counterattack. Now a counterattack is something that we're going to be looking at in part 4, but I'll talk a little bit about it right here because it's pretty important to our defensive game. Now a counterattack is where you are effectively trying to hit your opponent while you don't have right of way. So if your opponent makes a mistake, whether it is they attack and they're landing too far away, or their distance is off and they're attacking from too close, the counterattack allows you to take advantage of that mistake through your movement. And there are a few ways that a counterattack can work. The first one is just extending your arm while you step away. Simple counterattack. If they make a mistake, they attack from too far away, they won't hit you, but maybe they'll land on your blade. Another way of making a counterattack is where your body is physically twisting, turning, not to get hit. And this is an extension of our movement. We may not be moving with our feet, but we are definitely moving with our body. So if someone makes a straight attack and they're going for my inside line, I can flatten my target like this. I'm presenting my outside line, but the target they were going for is missing. I can twist and extend my arm, hit them. I don't have right of way, but if they miss me and I hit them, I'll get the point. Another way that we can do this counterattack is if you duck. So the attack goes over your head and you make the hit against them. So this is all movement playing a role in your defensive game. Now, I'm going to stress this, counterattacks don't have right of way. So using them as your primary defense is very problematic because your opponent just has to finish. They just have to find a way of hitting you to nullify your point. So again, that is a way of movement that helps you defend yourself, but it's not the best one. Those are our three methods of movement in our defensive game that we're looking at.